Elliott's Overtime Escape with your host, Playoff Maxwell. Elliott, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Seth.
That's good to hear. Are you excited for this
Yes.
wildcard weekend coming up
Yes.
this weekend? I'm glad. It's good to hear. Well, should we get the show on the road?
Yes.
All right.
Let's get the show on the road.
And our first
Upset of the week.
is going to be the upset of the week. Elliott, what game did you pick as your upset of the week?
Pittsburgh Steelers beating Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that was certainly the game of the week. The ending in that game was insane. Chris Boswell missing an extra point to make it just a 2-point game. And then the Ravens driving down the field, getting well into field goal range at a 44-yarder. And Tyler Loop, the rookie kicker, missing a field goal to send them to the playoffs. Crazy game to watch. What did you think about it?
Yeah, it's always crazy to see the Falcons being the Saints, the team that Sean Payton coached for a long time, and
The Steelers beating the Ravens, yeah.
Steelers beating the Ravens is always the game of that's whoever won that game was the AFC North division winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Steelers ended up winning that one. They'll be playing in wildcard weekend
Against the Texans on Monday.
And they've not lost a home Monday night game in over 30 years, is what I've heard. So the Texans have a tough matchup for sure, as tough as you can get Pittsburgh.
And going in
Pittsburgh on a Monday night, it's not good for most opponents.
And especially having an East Coast travel day.
Yeah. I do think, though, that the Texans are a better team. So we'll get into it in predictions, but I think that'll be one of the more interesting games to see. And I chose my upset of the week being the Falcons beating the Saints. Not only were they kind of underdogs going into the game, but this also had huge playoff implications with both the Panthers and the Buccaneers being at 8-9. If the Falcons won the game, the Panthers would go to the playoffs. If the Saints won the game, then the Buccaneers would go to the playoffs. And the Falcons did pull it off. They beat the Saints, and the Panthers, therefore, will be going to the playoffs with an 8-9 record. We'll see. I think it'll be really interesting.
Even though the Falcons lost their head coach.
Yeah, they fired their head coach, but they went into the offseason on a 4-game win streak. But yeah, got rid of Raheem Morris. Bad start to the season. Honestly, I'd rather see the Falcons in the playoffs than the Panthers or Buccaneers right now. Especially because all three teams are 8-9, but oh well. Tiebreakers will be how tiebreakers will be.
I think Panthers are in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I'd rather see the Falcons over either them or the Buccaneers.
In the NFC.
Yeah, I think they're a more interesting team to watch. All right. Should we get on to our next
topic?
Segment?
Next segment of
the video. Here we go. All right, and it's going to be
wildcard predictions.
Wildcard predictions, getting straight into it. We're going to get real in-depth with these today. All right. First in our games, we have the Rams up against, I believe, the Panthers. Yeah, that's what I thought. So the 4 seed going into Carolina and playing against the Panthers. Elliott, who did you pick for this one?
The Rams.
Okay, talk me through it a little bit. What made you choose the Rams over the Panthers here?
Rams just like, I know, like, sometimes it's hard to make those decisions, but like, the Rams just seem like the better team to like pick for a wild card game because of the way that Matthew Stafford is like playing.
Yeah, he's been playing really well. I think
against Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think this comes down to two things. Can Carolina's defense get takeaways? Because in a few of those losses, Matt Stafford combined for like, in their loss to the Falcons and in their loss to the Panthers, Matt Stafford combined for 5 interceptions, and he only had 8 on the whole season. So I think if the Panthers can force multiple takeaways off of Matt Stafford, I think in theory they could win this game. However, I don't think that's going to happen twice. I think they already got their lucky game over the Rams. I have the Rams winning this one as well, away in Carolina. I just don't have enough faith in Carolina's team overall. I'm really happy they made it to the playoffs. I just don't see Bryce Young really showing up in a playoff game.
Yes.
All right. And then up next, for our Saturday night game, we have the Packers going into Chicago, Soldier Field, and playing against the Chicago Bears. This one will be really interesting.
Both of us chose the Bears.
We did both choose the Bears. I think these teams are 1-on-1 on the season against each other. I believe they're 1-on-1 against each other this season. Let's see. Yep. So they're tied. The Bears won last time at home against the Packers. So I think they're going to pull it off again. I think that their team overall looks better, and I think Green Bay is really limping into the playoffs right now. I mean, Micah Parsons out, all these different teams out. And if you think about it, if they would have just lost to the Cowboys instead of tying them at the beginning of the season, the Vikings would actually be up in the playoffs instead of the Packers right now. Their tie is the only thing that kept them in the playoffs. I just don't think they're a good enough team to knock off the Chicago Bears at home. All right. And then for our first game on Sunday, starting at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, is the Bills going into Jacksonville and taking on the Jaguars. Elliott, who do you think is going to win that game?
Buffalo.
Talk me through it a little bit.
I think Trevor Lawrence needs to have a beta lesson and get sent out of the playoffs, and Buffalo wins it.
Do you think Trevor Lawrence won't play well?
I think the Bills' offense. James Cook is just a better running back than the running back that Jacksonville has.
I mean, yeah, James Cook is one of the best in the league. But Jacksonville's defense has been sneaky good against the run. I think this is probably one of the tougher matchups to call this weekend, but they're all tough to call. It is the playoffs. I think Jacksonville wins this one. To me, Jacksonville possibly looks like the best team going into the playoffs right now on the AFC side of the ball. NFC, I think, is a different picture. But Jacksonville has looked incredibly good these past few weeks. They've been on a big win streak, and they've been winning games in a commanding manner. They haven't been making a lot of mistakes. I think Jacksonville could honestly make a really deep run in the playoffs, and because of that, I am taking them to beat Buffalo at home in Jacksonville. Small market team, making it big time.
Yeah, but whoever, we won't find out Denver doesn't know who we're playing until after this weekend.
Yeah,
I hope it's going to be Pittsburgh against Denver.
that would be the easiest matchup for Denver. I don't think it will be though. I don't. And we'll get
I do not want the Jags to come face us.
The Jags might, and they beat the Broncos at home once already, pretty convincingly too. Could be bad news for the Broncos. I think Trevor Lawrence could do it again. I really think that Jacksonville could be a Super Bowl team this year from the AFC. For me, it's between Jacksonville and New England for the AFC side of the Super Bowl. Pretty convincingly at the moment.
Yeah, but it's just going to be because if Jacksonville loses to Buffalo, then that means that Jacksonville will be out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think Jacksonville wins convincingly. Maybe not convincingly, but I do have Jacksonville winning this one. I just think their team is overall better.
Yeah, but the lowest seeded, which means Pittsburgh would be the easiest team that the Broncos will face instead of Jacksonville.
Well, I'm just basing my prediction on who I think is going to win the game, and I think Jacksonville's going to win the game, regardless of who that means the Broncos play. But I believe Jacksonville's a higher seed than Buffalo.
Jacksonville's third seed.
Yeah. So in
against
theory,
six.
In theory, you'd want Jacksonville to win, because then you don't have to play Jacksonville in the next round, you don't have to play the Jags in the next round no matter what. So
I would rather see
Jacksonville win.
I would rather see the Jags win, but it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville wins that one. And then next we go to the NFC side of the ball. We have the 49ers going into Philadelphia.
No, they're hosting.
They're a wild card. They're a wild card. The Eagles are the 3 seed.
No, Philly.
San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Because the 49ers lost to the Seahawks. That's who won that division.
Yeah. But but when I read an article, it said the 49ers was hosting.
No, Philadelphia is hosting the 49ers. They're going all the way over to Philadelphia and playing.
That's going to be tough.
That's going to be a tough matchup for them. And for that
reason...
And
Brock Purdy is going to be, fired up. I'm going to be, hopefully, playing his best football.
Hopefully.
And shutting down the Eagles.
Hopefully, if you're a 49ers fan, yeah, Brock Purdy's playing his best football. I think it's a tough matchup. I still think Philadelphia is a really tough team to play against, especially at home in the playoffs. I feel like being the Super Bowl champions from last year, works for them, not against them. That defense is incredibly tough, and I have them taking the win over San Francisco, over in the Link. Hard place to play. Who do you have in that one, Elliott?
49ers.
Okay, nice. Talk me through it a little.
I think the underdogs need to show up and take down the Super Bowl winner. 49ers were in the Super Bowl one time against the Chiefs.
Yeah, well, I think they faced the Chiefs twice, right? Was it 2019 and 2023? Yeah, and they lost both of those. I have more faith in Philadelphia, but that's also a really close game. I feel like almost all of these games are really hard to call, except personally, for me, the next one is not hard to call. It is the Chargers
against New England.
Chargers, playing the Patriots.
That game
in Gillette Stadium, in the cold, against a good defense. Drake May, great offense. Who do you have winning this one?
I got the Chargers.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I think we all have because Drake May it's gonna be a hard time for Drake May to like go against a team that's rested starters against the Broncos and Justin Herbert and like all the players will be rested up, healed up, and ready to go smack the defense of New England down and just go crazy and go win the. I just want the Chargers to win this game because it would be great for Drake May and to like go into the off season and be eliminated from playoffs.
So you don't want to see the Patriots later in the playoffs?
I do not want to see New England until maybe it's a championship game, but I would rather like see the Chargers like win.
Yeah, I would like the Chargers to win, especially because I think it would be off the back of Justin Herbert. However, I think that their Super Bowl and deep playoff runs aspirations kind of died when Joe Alt went out for the season with injury. I just think that was too damaging. Their O-line play is like bottom 5 in the league, I believe, which just I don't think is good enough when you're in the playoffs. I mean, they've got 2 like rookie running backs, or 1 rookie, 1 unproven running back. I don't think he has enough weapons. I don't think he has enough protection. I really love Justin Herbert. He's one of my favorite in the league. But overall in this matchup, give me Drake May and give me the Patriots.
We'll see on Sunday. We'll see on Sunday night what comes out of the game.
Yeah.
We'll see on Sunday night what comes out of the game, and if my prediction's right and your prediction's wrong, if I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah. All these ones are close to call. I do feel pretty confident about the Patriots winning this, though. I think just Justin Herbert just doesn't have the protection that he needs. But that defense is really good, so we'll see what the Chargers defense can do to limit the Patriots. And then
the Chargers limited us, like limited the Broncos in the game in the.
Yeah, but that's not like the Patriots have had a crazy good offense all year versus the Broncos offense has been the question mark on that team. You know what I mean? So like, can they limit a high-powered offense?
Yeah, we won't face New England until championship game.
Yeah. All right, and then our last game, I've mentioned it once or twice, the Monday night game, Houston going into Heinz Field and playing the Pittsburgh Steelers over in Pittsburgh. Elliott, who do you think is going to win this one?
Both trust Houston. We both chose Houston, but I just really think like Pittsburgh's gonna end up winning it.
Oh, okay. So you want to change your prediction?
Yes.
All right, a change of prediction. All right, so you're saying Pittsburgh's going to win. You're going with the statistics. The statistics do say they haven't lost a Monday night game in Pittsburgh in like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So they have that. I just don't think they're really a good team. I really don't think they're a good team. I think that honestly they kind of got into the playoffs on luck. And I think Houston's defense is going to make them pay. I think this could be a really ugly game where both are very defensive teams, but I could just see Pittsburgh not getting anything started on offense. I mean, you have like DK Metcalf as your best receiver going against probably like a top 2 corner in the league. And DK hasn't looked the same. He's going to be coming off a 2-week suspension. Aaron Rodgers is still accurate. He's still good. But I think he's not mobile enough to limit the amount of sacks Houston can get on him. Overall, I think Houston just has a better shot to win this, and that's why I went with Houston for it.
Yeah. But I still think Pittsburgh's gonna take a home win.
No, they do have a really good home field advantage. I think this one's as tight as any of these games is.
I do not want to face the Texans.
Yeah.
That's like the.
So your prediction's a little bit influenced by who you would like to see the Broncos face.
So you went for a few underdogs so that
it's cause of elimination because the Broncos have to wait to find out who we're gonna face in the divisional round, and it's all based on all of the games that are this weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's like Denver just needs to have an easier opponent than having a harder opponent and then getting eliminated early.
Yeah. I think it'll be really interesting. I think
I would rather see the Denver Broncos not be eliminated early.
Yeah. I don't know what'll happen. I think the Broncos could get a favorable matchup. I think their favorable matchups off of the playoffs would be the Steelers and the Chargers. And those are the two teams I'd take the Broncos over with any sort of confidence. Anybody else, I think, is a toss-up. Even the Chargers, I'd say, is pretty close to a toss-up. That, Justin Herbert, you really can't rule him out. They've beat the Broncos once this season.
Yeah, but that was on the walk-off field goal.
Yeah, a win's a win, though, because that's what the Broncos have been saying all season, is a win is a win.
Yeah, but we haven't won a Super Bowl in 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
We haven't won since Super Bowl 50. And Super Bowl 60 is our time, and it would mean we would have a fourth Lombardi trophy, and Broncos would be winners.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if the Broncos won. I don't know if I have faith in that offense. I don't know if I have enough faith in Bo Nix to bring them to the promised land, unfortunately.
If only they had another wide receiver would help.
I mean, yeah, I think they have decent weapons. I think really it falls onto can Bo Nix perform in big games in the postseason. I think that's what really it's going to end up coming down to.
He showed up in he's done it last year. He did create we tried to beat the Buffalo Bills and away.
Yeah.
But then we got annihilated.
Yeah, and I think the Broncos could make a deep playoff run. I just think it'll depend on can Bo Nix step up. Is he really the guy when it comes to the postseason? I think that'll be the question.
Yes. It's just a wait and see for whoever our matchup is.
Exactly.
That's what every Broncos fan is waiting for. Whoever is our matchup for the divisional round.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah, I think it'd be really
the one
interesting
team that comes out of the wildcard games, which will make it easier matchup at home for the Broncos. So then we're facing New England in the championship game.
Yeah, or if your predictions go the way that you're expecting them to, you guys would be facing, let's try to calculate. So if the Rams win, NFC, those three don't matter. So you're having Buffalo, Chargers, and Pittsburgh win. So Pittsburgh would go into Denver and play the Broncos next week. The Buffalo Bills and the Chargers would face off. And that'd be pretty favorable. And then if you're a Broncos fan, you'd be rooting for the Chargers to beat Buffalo the next week. I have the opposite for my AFC predictions. I think Houston, Jacksonville, and New England win. In which case, Denver would be playing Houston at home, and then if they won that, they'd probably be rooting for, I don't know, who would you rather face in the championship, Jacksonville or New England? I think you'd rather face New England.
New England instead of Jacksonville.
Those are tough matchups, so both of those teams are really good.
Jacksonville won over us.
I know, so it's like hard, but New England looks insanely good, but they aren't really proven in the playoffs. They kind of have the same thing as the Broncos.
Because Drake May is like a sophomore and is not proven enough.
But he's an MVP candidate, which you can't unfortunately say about Bo Nix this season. So like if I'm choosing between just quarterbacks, I'm probably taking Drake May. So I think that'll be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, but next season's gonna be Drake May against Bo Nix in an away game.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Could be a rematch of a playoff game. We'll see. We'll find out.
Let's get the next topic. That's so funny.
The water sound. All right, now we have a little bit of a flop of the week. Elliott, who do you have as your flop of the week?
I chose San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I think there was two teams in the running for it because there was only really two meaningful games this past week, or two super meaningful games. And the two options were the 49ers or the Ravens. Tell me a little bit about why the 49ers are your flop of the week.
I chose the 49ers because they didn't do very well against Seattle Seahawks. And it was always like a tough game to like go into to like find like the NFC West winner division.
Yeah, and it was for the number one seed. I definitely agree. I mean, having their offense held to only 3 points, I think, was the worst part. That defense for the Seahawks honestly looks insanely good. I think they're absolutely a Super Bowl contender, and I think the Rams are the other big Super Bowl contender from the NFC. Lost a big game. My flop for this last week was the Ravens. I talked a little bit about the sequence at the end of that game. I didn't want to put them here because it's ultimately just a big bummer. I feel super bad for the kicker, Tyler Loop. Missing a game winner that decides to go to the playoffs or not is so brutal, and I do feel really bad for him. But I think he'll recover. But overall, this looked really bad for the Ravens to lose that last game of the season and have to, take it home early instead of going to the playoffs. Feels like such a huge loss to take to me.
Yeah. Ravens just blew it in that game against Pittsburgh.
They did blow it a little. All right. Oh boy.
10-minute drill.
Speaking of blowing it in that game, let's get over to the 10-minute drill and see what we have going on. So directly related to that game, Elliott, the Ravens fired their head coach, John Harbaugh, after 18 years of coaching the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think about that move?
I think it was a very hard to it's always tough to make these decisions about firing your head coach who's been your head coach for 2 decades.
Yeah, for such a long time. I agree with the Ravens' decision. I think it was time. I guess the question to me is where do they go from here? Do you get rid of Lamar Jackson and try to kind of start a rebuild, or do you just get a new head coach, roll it into 2026 and see if it works out? I think that's a really interesting situation to look at going forward, to see who can, man that team. But in very, very related news that just came out, I believe yesterday, what's our next headline?
The Dolphins fire Mike McDonald.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel's gone from Miami. He was fired, and the speculation is he was only fired because the Dolphins think that they can get John Harbaugh, and that's why he was fired so late, is because he was expected to come back for 2026, but then the Ravens realized they had a chance at John Harbaugh, the Dolphins realized they had that chance, and they decided to let McDaniels go because of it. And I think Mike McDaniels is one of the hottest prospects on the head coaching market this year, in my opinion. Not necessarily as a head coach, but potentially.
There could be, the Chiefs are always looking for offensive coordinator for offensive coordinator positions are going to be opening on teams.
That's the big one. He could really be an offensive coordinator. And it kind of ties up with our next headline that the Lions fired their offensive coordinator. I think if you're the Lions, you have to try to get Mike McDaniels in as your OC. I think he's a really, really good offensive coordinator, even if he wasn't the best head coach of all times. And I can't even imagine him with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, J-Mo, a trusted QB in Jared Goff. I think that team would be insanely good with a better offensive coordinator, and I think that Mike McDaniels is exactly that. The other positions you've heard him maybe go to is like OC for the Ravens or OC for the Commanders. So I think it's really interesting what could happen there. Where do you think the most interesting landing spot for Mike McDaniels would be?
The most interesting, I could see him possibly end up at the Raiders.
Oh, at the Raiders as
offensive coordinator.
As OC. That'd be cool. That'd be cool to see. I wonder who's going to end up head coaching over in Las Vegas. I think that'll be really interesting. But what's our next headline for the day, Elliott?
Commanders fire both coordinators.
Yeah, kind of no surprise. Really rough year for the Commanders. I don't know exactly what the Commanders are going to do.
So they fired both of the coordinators.
Yeah.
Offense coordinator and defense.
Yeah. Really big news. I think that team is kind of in a weird spot. So many of their players are just so old that I think they're not necessarily in a favorable position going into the future. So I'm really kind of excited to see what they look to do with young Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out who gets hired as offense and defense for Commanders.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see. Really interesting going forward. And still talking about coordinators here, it was Black Monday the other day. The Cowboys fired defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, it's interesting to fire somebody that was a head coach before and then was hired on as a defense coordinator and then fired.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's like history repeating itself.
Yeah, he got fired 2 years in a row.
It might be the end of his NFL coaching career.
Unfortunately for him, it didn't work out well with the Bears, did not work out well with the Cowboys. Granted, that's not all on Matt Eberflus. That defense is also just positions-wise really, really bad. So yeah, unfortunately. He is out in Dallas. It'll be interesting to see who they bring in as their defensive coordinator.
And then Raiders fire Pete Carroll.
Yeah, kind of to the surprise of no one. It was one and done in Las Vegas, which I think was the right call. It didn't work out over there. It was a really bad season. It's time to move on.
Browns fire Kevin Stefanski.
Browns also firing their head coach after a kind of rough year. He is also supposed to be one of the hottest commodities on that coaching market. As one of the better coaches in the league getting fired, I think it's really interesting for the Browns and for Stefanski, but I think he's in a good position to continue his success.
I think Stefanski might end up coaching the Giants.
That would be cool. I think he'd be a really good coach there.
Because they have Jackson Dart, they need somebody to help coach a young.
Exactly, very young team, needs a lot of coaching. I think that'll be really interesting going into the future. And then we can fire off these last few firings. We'll get them through quick. Cardinals fire Jonathan Gannon. I feel like that one's not super meaningful. I think everyone saw it coming. And I don't know if I see him continuing to be a successful head coach in the NFL in general. And then the Falcons fired both their head coach, Raheem Morris, and their general manager.
Yeah, so it's they would have to find a replacement GM and a head coach for the Falcons.
Exactly. Yeah, so they're going to have to get a head coach and a GM. I think that the Falcons, with good coaching, can be a really good team. So I really hope they get that hire right, because I think it would be really interesting to watch them play. And then for our next and maybe biggest headline from the NFL week, we have Myles Garrett breaking the all-time single-season sack record in Week 18 when he got his 23rd sack against Joe Burrow.
Even Cincinnati is not even in the playoffs.
Yeah. What do you think about that sack record?
That just seems like it's... Yeah, players are just cooking.
Yeah, Myles Garrett is unreal. I mean, he's been possibly my favorite NFL player for probably a good 4 years now. I've always really, really liked Myles Garrett, and it's good to see him, fully show that he is, I think, the most dominant defensive force. I would be shocked if he doesn't get Defensive Player of the Year this year, racking up the most sacks of any player by a good amount, just being such a disruption. Really happy for Myles Garrett in that way.
Yeah, and then Ravens missed the playoffs missed Tyler Luke field goal.
Yeah, that one we kind of already went through a little bit. Same with the next headline, which is
Panthers clinch playoff berths with 8-9 record after Falcons beat Saints.
Yeah, we covered those ones already a little bit. Just kind of funny, different playoff scenarios. And then our last headline.
Raiders clinch first overall seed in the draft.
Yeah, the Raiders are going to be picking first. Fernando Mendoza, you are a Las Vegas Raider. And I think DJ Moore is going to be a New York Jet. So, prepare everyone.
Dante.
Huh.
It was Dante. It was the quarterback for the Ducks is going to be...
Yes, the Ducks quarterback Dante Moore is slated to go number 2 overall at the moment to the New York Jets, and it seems like, at least from what everyone thinks, is that the Raiders are going to go with Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana as their signal caller for the next year.
Yeah, and just go release Geno Smith from the contract.
Yeah. Geno Smith, goodbye, friend. He had a really bad season. Fernando Mendoza. I think that'll be really interesting to see. I mean, you have a star, like one of the best running back prospects going into the draft ever. And then you have one of the best quarterback prospects. I think if they can make that O-line good in the offseason, because they do have also the most cap space available, if they can improve that O-line and get Mendoza a good wide receiver or two, maybe like a Jordan Addison or a Jamal Williams, just anyone who's like a second wide receiver on another team but could be a good wide receiver one, I really think the Raiders could kind of claw back the horrible season that they had this year and be all right again at the very least.
Yeah, better than being the bottomless pit of despair in the bottom of the AFC West.
Yeah, I think it could be like a Broncos last year where they went from like 3 or 4 wins to, up to about like 10 wins. I don't want to say that too soon because we don't know what moves they'll make in the offseason. I think
because we're going to be probably aggressive.
Yeah, it depends on who's a head coach over for the Raiders and stuff as well. But Tom Brady and the ownership, I feel like, will attract some head coaching that's hopefully pretty good. And I think that the Raiders could be a little scary next year.
Yeah, but it all depends on who they hire as head coach.
Exactly.
And who they hire as offensive coordinator and defense.
Yeah, and who they draft. So there's a ton that could change within that organization in the next year, and I think it'll be really interesting to watch.
Yes.
All right. What should we do next?
Spin the wheel for the, third? Fourth?
This will be our fifth
topic
of the day, our defense of the week. Elliott, who did you pick as your defense of the week this week?
I chose Seattle.
Yeah. In a rare stroke, we went with the same defense here. I also went with Seattle, holding what
49ers.
The NFC 1 seed team to only 3 points is an insane defensive performance. And I really think they deserve their flowers as the best defense in the league overall throughout the season. They've been really, really good. The offense looks really good in Seattle. Overall, really scary team. I wouldn't want to see any team I like face them in the playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's number 6.
Time to spin that wheel again. Get a little coach of the week. All right. Elliott, who do you have as your coach of the week?
I chose the defensive coach of the Denver Broncos, Vance Joseph, as my coach of the week because I wanted to switch it up because Vance Joseph has been killing it on the defensive side of the ball, and we've been we were 4 I think we're 4 off of the we would have broken the sack record of the Bears.
You're only 4 sacks away.
The total number of sacks is 68, and the Bears from 1985 was 72.
Yeah.
We were so close.
That is really close. Let's see. So the Chicago Bears all-time 1984 had 72 sacks. The Vikings had 71 sacks, also in 84. Shout out the Vikings. And then let's see how many the Broncos had this year. They had 68. Yeah, only 4 off, tying that long-standing record. Really, really dominant front seven over in Denver. I have as my coach of the week, I went a little biased this week. I think he deserves some flowers for such a strong finish to the season And for weathering the storm, I have Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings. I just think that in such an up and down year, the locker room is still really behind him, and I think that's super important as a head coach. And there were some really sweet player goodbyes there that I thought were really well done after Week 18 was over. C.J. Ham and Harrison Smith, two insanely storied players with the Minnesota Vikings, both gone after this season. Just good to see KOC, give them the respect they deserve.
Yeah. No, it's... Wow.
Uh-oh.
We just
did that one. We can't do it again. All right, should we spin for our second to last segment? All right. Finishing our last weekly award of the regular season, our player of the week for Week 18, 2025-2026 season. Elliott, who'd you pick?
I got number 2 of the Denver Broncos defense, Pat Surtain, as my player of the week this week. He literally knocked into the Chargers offensive player and literally just he went crazy on in that game.
Yeah. Did he have did he have multiple interceptions or something?
No.
Oh.
He was just he helped it was just great to see Pat Surtain doing great stuff for helping to stop the Chargers from getting in the end zone. And
Okay, yeah. So you just had an overall good game.
yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good. I also chose a defensive player. I think I've chosen him once or twice this season because he's insane. I think he's one of the best players in his position of all time. I think he could be considered the best in his position of all time someday. I chose Myles Garrett. I think he really deserves his flowers for the season that he's had. And I think he went up against two offenses that pretty much schemed to not let him get a sack at the end of the year, and he still managed to get one in the fourth quarter. To me, it was just such an incredible moment to see him break that record. And yeah, for that reason, I think he's my player of the week.
Yeah. And now it's going to be spin the wheel and for the last topic of today's episode.
Here we go.
Here we go with the Disney trivia.
Disney trivia, Walt's World. Let's get right into it. Elliott, what's my first question today?
Who composed the songs for Tarzan's soundtrack?
Shoot.
You might know this.
I don't think I do off the top of my head. Is it the same guy that did the Star Wars soundtrack? No, because I know he did a ton.
No. It was the first Disney film. Because then this guy, the guy that composed the soundtrack for Tarzan went on to do the soundtrack for Brother Bear and some other Disney films.
I don't think I know who it is. Who is it?
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins. Okay, that makes sense. I've heard the name before, that's for sure. I just didn't have a grasp on who exactly it is.
Where did the 101 Dalmatians take place?
Can I? Oh. Two cities seem like the right vibe for me. In the two, and I'm not answering, so don't tell me anything yet, because I think I can get this one, so I don't want any hints yet. The two that come to mind are either New York City or Paris. Those are the two that I feel like it would be filmed in. Big fashion cities. I know, that's kind of a big plot line in it. I am going to say Paris.
You're way off.
It's not New York City.
No. It's London.
London, okay. I don't think Paris is way off London. They're both European cities.
Yeah. But it's Disney chose London for 101 Dalmatians because it was like, what was the better thing? Because they would say Paris for like a later film.
Okay.
Like they would choose Paris for like the Aristocats. But they chose London for 101 Dalmatians.
Interesting, okay. Yeah. Never knew that. It's cool to know it was in London. London probably would have been like a third choice for me, just based on like the weather and how everything looked in the movie.
Which Disney villain has a pet raven named Diablo?
Could I get like a hint on like when this movie came out?
1959.
Oh man. Man, that really doesn't help at all.
In the movie Sleeping Beauty.
Oh. Shoot, well you didn't even let me guess. You didn't even let me get an answer, dude.
I said part of the I helped you with the title of the film, but not the character.
Oh.
I said the title of the film, but not the character that has the raven.
What is her name? What is her name? I thought it would be from something like Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty was in my mind. What's her name? Is it Maleficent? Is that
Yes.
her name? Yes.
You got a point.
Yay. 1 of 3 so far.
What's the name of the city in Monsters Inc.?
Shoot. I have no idea. Can I guess? Scareville?
No.
Dang. What is it?
Monstropolis.
Monstropolis, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
What's the name of Captain Hook's ship in Peter Pan? That's a hard. That's like an easy question that I got.
Captain Hook's ship. Captain Hook is the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be anything like Davy Jones or Davy Jones' Locker or anything like that. I have no idea.
It's the Jolly Roger.
Oh, the Jolly Roger. Okay, well that makes sense. Shoot, well I got 1 of 5. 1 of 5 I'll take for today. Those ones were tough questions.
Yeah, now it's time to wrap it up and end the show for today. And thank you all for watching, listening, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And hopefully cheer on whatever team is in the wildcard weekend. Woo!
Yeah? Who will you be cheering for on Wild Card Weekend, Elliott?
Hopefully LA Chargers, New England. I'll be rooting for the Chargers.
Rooting for the Chargers. Okay, rooting for a division opponent. I personally, this weekend, will be rooting for the Bears and the Jags. I would like to see both of those teams win this weekend. And outside of that, Houston. Chicago, Jacksonville, Houston are my 3 teams I'd really like to see everyone win. All right.
Now it's time to close it up. Here's your host, Maxwell, the playoff king, the playoff master, predictor, signing out of Elliott's overtime escape.
Woo!